Part 145. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1441. Chapter 1441 Yezikin's Suspicion. Godmother, just tell me. My brother and I both want to know what happened back then. Yezhiruoka pestered her and asked, but Yuanran was so deceived by her that she had no choice but to agree, okay. When the three of you were born, your brother was very healthy, but you and Nuan were a little worse. You and Nuan were put into the insulation room together, but you came out earlier. Nuan's health was the worst at that time, and we were waiting for her, but on the day when the doctor told us that we could pick up Nuan and take care of her, Nuan was taken away by Yahantian. You know Yahantian, right? Yeah. I know. Nuan's disappearance caused a lot of chaos. Everyone began to search for traces of Yahantian. During this period, Yahantian even planned to go abroad, but was stopped by our people. After all the hard work, Nuan was taken from him. When I grabbed it back, I found that Nuan had died. Why is this happening? Did he do it? No, it's because Nuan's body is not good to begin with, and it became like this after a lot of suffering. How abominable. Yes, what's even more disgusting is that Yahantian put all the blame on us. At that time, your mother was very sad because of Nuan's incident. Yahantian also deliberately induced him to say that it was because of our pursuit that he had to take Nuan with him. Escape, which killed Nuan. At that time, your mother suffered from postpartum depression. That incident left a deep impression on everyone at the time. Even thinking about it now is still like a nightmare, it is simply unbearable to look back on. When I talk about it, I feel nothing but sadness and hatred. Hearing the simple description made her feel depressed. She couldn't believe how sad her parents were when they experienced all this. No wonder Yewei misses Mo Xiongnuan so deeply, and he still can't let go after so many years. Godmother, apart from the doctor and Yahantian, has no one else seen Nuan before? Yes, we did take a look when we were born, but the most pitiful thing is your mommy. She fainted when you were born and has never seen Nuan alive. This is something she will never forget. Recalling that time, Yuanran felt a chill in his heart. Yezhiruo sat there, rubbing his hands uneasily with each other, and asked tentatively, then, is it possible that the person who died was not Nuan? Ruruo, why would you ask that? You were just born. What if Yahantian exchanged Nuan with someone else? Have you watched too many TV series, kid? Yuanran didn't notice her nervousness at all, and didn't pursue the deeper meaning of her words. Yezhiruo hesitated to speak. After sighing, he suppressed the words that he almost blurted out. Well, I can't tell for the moment. The truth will be revealed if we wait a little longer. What did you say? It's okay, no problem. Now only she, her brother and Gujinsi know about this matter. They have agreed not to tell anyone else at that time, so as not to cause more trouble if the result does not match their imagination. The news about Yewei and Ye Qingfeng's request for leave reached Yezhiruo's ears. She was confused about the behavior of the two children and asked questions. The brothers and sisters of the Ye family had no choice but to lie. Fortunately, they had always been self-disciplined and had strict requirements on themselves, and Yewei did not break the casserole and ask the truth. It's just that lies can't escape Yezikin. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1442. Chapter 1442 Yewei overheard the truth. While Yewei was applying facial mask for maintenance, the brother and sister were invited into Wanmian's study by Yezikin. Good evening, Daddy. Good evening, Daddy. The two of them greeted each other politely. Yezikin pointed to the chair next to him and said, sit down. Normally, they can joke and act coquettishly with Yezikin casually in other places, but as soon as they enter the study room, they feel that the atmosphere is getting more and more serious, and they must take it seriously. Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo were communicating with each other through their eyes, and they took the opportunity to discuss excuses when they came. Unexpectedly, Yezikin didn't give them a chance to make excuses at all, and directly asked the question straight to the point, "Tell me, why did you investigate in the first place, things?" Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo. Daddy is daddy, and old age is still hot. A question will force them to the stage and they will not be able to get off the stage. Yezhiruo bit her lips and winked at Ye Qingfeng, "Brother, come on." Ye Qingfeng frowned and winked at her, "Daddy never loses his temper with you, just tell me." Yezikin calmly took in the expressions and eyes of the brothers and sisters. He seemed to have inadvertently picked up the signature pen in the pen holder on the table, and when he held it about 10 centimeters above the table, he suddenly let go, with a click sound. The tip of the pen falls to the boiled noodles. This sound, which is neither loud nor quiet, is enough for the brother and sister to clear their heads. Knowing that this was a reminder from his father, Ye Qingfeng, as the elder brother, finally took the initiative to become a pioneer. "Daddy, the reason why we took 2 days off to investigate what happened was because my sister and I accidentally discovered a secret." Yezikin listened quietly, waiting for the follow-up. Ye Qingfeng corrected his attitude, and his expression gradually became serious. "The other day we saw a birthmark on a girl's waist in a picture. The location of the birthmark is almost exactly the same as the mark on your waist. It can even be said that the shape same thing." Yezikin suddenly raised his eyes. "Continue." Ye Qingfeng then said, "That girl is the same age as my sister and me. That girl's eyes look like mommy. You know that girl too, she is." While Ye Qingfeng hesitated for a moment, Yezhiruo couldn't help but hold his breath. "It's Li Pan'er." This time, the pen Yezikin held in his fingers fell to the ground. At this moment, Ye Yi, who was standing outside, could no longer bear to push the door open and enter. Boom dash. The door to the study room was suddenly pushed open, and a huge noise startled everyone. The 3 people in the study looked towards the door one after another, only to see Ye Wei standing alone in the middle of the door, with a dark expression. "Is what you just said true, Mommy?" Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo wanted to get close to her at the same time, but Yezikin was already faster and took Ye Wei's hand. Yes, only hand was shaking. She stared at Ye Qingfeng and asked the question repeatedly, with thousands of emotions in her eyes. "Feng tell me, is what you just said true?" Just now, I could still talk to Yezikin rationally, but now I saw Ye Wei but couldn't speak because the matter had not been determined yet. Yes, only mood was about to collapse. "Is what you just said true? Is there a mark of the crescent moon on Pan'er's waist? Do you all think that Pan'er is very similar to me? Are you guessing that Pan'er is Nuan Nuan? In fact, Nuan Nuan is not dead at all, right?" She stepped closer and slapped her hands heavily on the table. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1443. Chapter 1443, Losing Control and Looking for Daughter. Are you guessing that Pan'er is Nuan Nuan? In fact, Nuan Nuan is not dead at all, right? She stepped closer and slapped her hands heavily on the table. Talk. Say it. Facing the quiet 3 people, Yayoi uncontrollably brushed away a bunch of items on the table. Yezikin took a few steps and hugged him tightly. "Yi, please calm down." "Don't be calm, I don't want to be calm." "Is what you just said true? Is it true? Tell me if it is true." She struggled in Yezikin's arms, stubbornly asking for an answer. Ye Qingfeng held Yezhiruo's head in a protective posture. They were really frightened by Ye Youwei's aggressive appearance. Because Ye Weiwei has never really been angry with them since they were young. In their hearts, the image of their mother has always been gentle and doting. But I never thought that I would see my mother become so crazy because of a dead child at this moment. Yezhiruo couldn't help but think of what Bai Ryu and Ran had described to her about the pain her mother felt when she lost her child. At that time, she thought she could feel the pain, but only after seeing it with her own eyes did she realize that the pain she could imagine was far worse than the tremendous pain her mother had endured. Unconsciously, Yezhiruo's face was filled with tears. Brother. She really wanted to ask Ye Qingfeng to tell her mother that those words were true. But she is so afraid that all her speculations will become false, so what should she do? To others it may be just empty joy, but to the mother it is undoubtedly the pain of losing her daughter again. Yezikin forced Ye Weiwei's eyes to look at her so that she could hear what he said. Yi, open your eyes and see clearly, you scared the children. At this time, we can only use children to divert Ye's only attention. It turned out that the effect was very good. Ye Weiwei saw his son and daughter standing by the wall with a frightened look, and his attention was immediately drawn to them. Yezhiruo revealed her head from the protection of Ye Qingfeng, and only then did Yezhiruo realize that her daughter was crying. She suddenly felt extremely guilty. Ruruo, Feng-er. I'm sorry, mommy didn't mean to hurt you. She held her two children in her arms and apologized continuously. Even if Ye Qingfeng kept saying it's okay to her, she couldn't bear to listen. Perhaps he was at a sad point, and Yezhiruo cried even harder, until he couldn't even speak. Ye Weiwei's mood gradually recovered, and Yezikin said to the two children, Feng-er, Ruruo, you two go back to the room first. Yezhiruo was still worried, but mommy. Yezikin touched her head and reassured her, don't worry, Daddy will take care of it. Well, Daddy, just call us if you need help. As the older brother, Ye Qingfeng was much more sensible and let his sister out. Ye Weiwei sat on the chair with his head lowered, not knowing what he was thinking. Only. Sorry. Yezikin whispered her name, but she opened her mouth to apologize. Yezikin stood in front of her, his tall figure covering her like a protective barrier, making the protected person feel particularly at ease. You never have to apologize to me. A warm word caused the protective wall built in Ye Wei's heart to collapse, and she could only throw herself into the warm embrace to seek comfort. Our Nuanuan is not dead. She must be Nuan. Brother Chen, I want to take Nuanuan home. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1444. Chapter 1444 I want to take her home. The matter had been exposed, and Ye Qingfeng had no choice but to reveal all the information he had collected in the past 2 days, and also revealed that he was doing a paternity test. Ye was only temporarily rational emotionally, but her behavior was not calm at all. I'm going to take Nuanuan home. Even though the hospital has not yet issued a paternity test result report, Ye Weiwei has already determined that Li Painter is her third daughter. Ignoring other people's advice, she was only sure of one thing, Painter is my Nuan. It must be. Even regardless of the time, she planned to go out empty-handed. Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo worked together to hold Ye Wei down. After all, the brothers and sisters of the Ye family have not experienced it personally, and they still have the patience to wait for an accurate result. Mommy, it's getting very late now, let's talk about anything tomorrow. Daddy, please think of a solution quickly. The brother and sister each persuaded each other. Ye Youwei was dragged by the children but did not dare to push them away. He made it clear that he wanted the head of the family, Yezikin, to speak. When Yezikin walked towards her, Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo automatically moved away their hands. I lost my daughter once 14 years ago. This time I will not let her go even if there is a slim chance. No matter how outrageous things happened back then, I am willing to believe that she is our daughter. Yewei raised his head and stared at him, the determination in his eyes clearly visible. Yezikin, I want to take Nuanuan home. The matter about Lipanu's identity took root in Yewei's heart, just like a person standing on the edge of a cliff who is unwilling to let go even if he grabs a light straw, even if there is a 90% chance that he is wrong. She will never let go of her choice. Yezikin held her hand tightly and did not say another word to stop her. Because he already knew yes only determination. No one can stop her at this moment. I go with you. As a majestic father, not talking much or showing emotions does not mean that he cannot love. When the brothers and sisters of the Ye family heard what Yezikin said, they immediately raised their hands and said, Daddy, we are going too. Good. After his actions were recognized, Yewei felt a little more relaxed. This time she did not rush into battle lightly, because considering the weather there and the distance on the way, they had to prepare some things as backup. Although he was eager to see Lipanu right away, the two children who followed him were still treasures in his hand. Yewei didn't bother to pack his own things, so he stuffed the two children with thick clothes and cloaks. After preparing clothes and filling their stomachs with snacks, they rushed there overnight. There is no direct flight there, so they choose to drive themselves. I found two drivers to take turns. When the car drove out, it was quiet in the car. Unable to resist Zhou Gong's temptation, Yezhiruo quickly closed his eyes and fell asleep. Yewei peeked his head out from time to look at the two children sitting in the middle seat, fearing that they would be cold, and took out a light blanket from his luggage bag to cover them. As a mother, it is really heartbreaking when raising children. After a while, Yewei's eyelids also started to fight. Yezikin took her into his arms domineeringly and directly, forcing her to close her eyes and sleep. Sleep well, and when you wake up you will see the person you met. On this day, they fell asleep with heavy thoughts. And Yezikin had no sleep all night. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1445. Chapter 1445, A Flirty Family of Four. The car was swaying along the way, and they woke up several times in the middle of the journey, but they were always defeated by sleep, and they gradually woke up almost after 8 o'clock the next morning. Where is this? Already arrived at Linchi. How long will it take? It will take about 2 hours to go up the mountain. Alas, Yewei couldn't help but sigh when he heard the long wait. They have arrived in Linchi and found that the temperature here is 5 degrees lower than that in S city, and even a down jacket is not warm enough. The temperature here is very low. Yewei checked the weather and temperature test on his mobile phone and was concerned about the health of his two children. Ruruo, you should wear more clothes. If you get cold, you must tell mommy. Know it? Most mothers have a nagging behavior when facing their children. Repeating care and greetings over and over again is their way of loving their children. When they came to this mountain village again, they remembered that they had been here before. Unfortunately, after so many years, this small mountain village did not rise due to tourism or agriculture, but stagnated. We have been to this place once before. 10 years later, the road up the mountain changed from dirt to gravel, and some places were even painted with cement. However, the layout of the houses in the village is still similar to that of the past. He goes up the mountain, and the car can only drive to the entrance of the village, and there is still a long way to go. It's not very far to walk along the way, but this group of people is too cool. At noon, most people were on their way home to eat or sitting in front of their homes to do some work. It was also the weekend and the children were on vacation, so when Yejia and his group passed by, those people would look at them more. Some children even chased them out to watch. Yuxi, I borrowed the backpack from your uncle's house the day before yesterday. If you have nothing to do today, please help me run and return it. Okay, I'll go right away. Fang Yuxi picked up her backpack and just walked out of her house. When she turned a corner, she saw two children blocking the intersection. This village is not big, and everyone in the village knows each other. Those two children are famous for being naughty in the village, but they are standing here obediently. So Fang Yuxi was very curious when he saw them standing here. What are you two doing, woolen cloth? Brother Yuxi, look at those people. Looking in the direction of the child's finger, Fang Yuxi saw a crowded figure approaching not far away. Ye Wei happened to be looking for someone to ask for directions. She looked around and saw a few people standing at the intersection. She was about to step forward, but Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo stopped her in time. Mommy, wait, we will go ask you for directions. Just when the children finished saying this, Yezikin firmly grasped Ye Wei's hand. The two children acted as pioneers very considerately. This is something they have just discussed tacitly. She was worried that Ye Wei would lose control of her emotions, so now Yezikin is keeping an eye on her throughout the whole process. Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo were able to speed up and step forward, but Fang Yuxi froze when he saw the appearance of the person coming. Yezhiruo waved to them. Hello, I would like to ask, do you know where Li Panner's home is? The two children answered excitedly, I know. Their home is over there. Fang Yuxi didn't care about the problem. He rubbed his eyes and repeatedly made sure that he had not misjudged the person in front of him. Are you Yezhiruo? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1446. Chapter 1446. Are Li and his wife really good to Panner? Are you Yezhiruo? Hey, do you know me? Yezhiruo raised her eyes and looked carefully at the boy carrying the backpack in front of her. She searched in her mind based on her memory, and the results showed that there was no such person. She did not have this person in her mind. Because Fang Yuxi was just an ordinary passerby to her, she wouldn't pay attention to him or pay attention to him at all, so she didn't remember that she had seen him before. Fang Yuxi couldn't wait to explain his identity. I went to your school to perform last time. Yes, by the way, I was also there when you took Panner to the infirmary for examination, but maybe you didn't notice At the end, Fang Yuxi scratched his head unnaturally. Yezhiruo blinked, without a smile on his face, and easily resolved the embarrassment. Oh, I remember seeing you at the last school anniversary. Heck, remember, she was just calculating. However, Yezhiruo's exclusive smile is very lethal. Just a few words later, Yezikin and others who were walking behind were already approaching. Ruruo! Yayoi shouted, and Yezhiruo turned around and waved, come right here. Fang Yuxi saw them leaving and quickly stopped them. Wait a minute, are you here to see Li Panner? Yezhiruo nodded. Fang Yuxi picked up his backpack and volunteered, I happen to be fine, so I'll take you there. This answer is pleasant to hear, and it is something that Yezhiruo couldn't ask for. Really, thank you very much. Ye Qingfeng really couldn't see the hopeful look in Fang Yu's eyes on his sister, so he stretched out his hand from between the two of them, pulling Yezhiruo to walk beside him to separate her from Fang Yuxi. However, Fang Yuxi was still actively looking for topics along the way. I heard my uncle talk about your family. He said you were very kind. Who is your uncle? Oh, you don't know, my uncle is Ying's Heshan, they all call him Dr. Ying. Really, what a coincidence. Panner seemed to have changed a lot when she came back last time. Hey, what are you doing here to see her now? Something's wrong. A simple two-word summary means that the other party is unwilling to explain things clearly. Fang Yuxi did not get to the bottom of it. Instead, Ye Qingfeng asked, How long will it take to walk from here? About 5 or 6 minutes. Their home is on the edge of our village, which is further away than the concentrated residential area. Are you familiar with the Lee family? Not too familiar, but my uncle has always taken good care of Panur, so I know something about them. Ye Wei, who was walking behind, kept his ears open to listen to the children's conversation, looking for news about Lee Panur. Now she couldn't help but ask, then do you know how Panur is doing recently? Are the Lee family and his wife treating her well? Fang Yuxi hesitated, this. Yezhiruo echoed her mother's words, if you know anything, just say thank you. Yezhiruo expressed his sincere thanks, and Fang Yuxi could only obey him. My home is quite far away from theirs, and I don't know much about it. I seem to have heard that Aunt Lee's attitude towards Panur has changed a bit since they came back from the city. Hearing this, the Ye family felt a little bit relieved. At least the previous incident had an effect. Walking through a bamboo forest, after leaving the bamboo forest, the surrounding land was planted again, but now it is covered with snow, and the land is white, but there is still grass growing in some places. Fang Yuxi ran into an acquaintance as soon as he came out of the bamboo forest. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1447. Chapter 1447, Find Painter, the money is yours. Hey, Du Heng. Du Heng came forward and met Fang Yuxi face to face. He also saw Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo walking beside Fang Yuxi. Du Heng was about to say hello to Fang Yuxi, but when he saw the two people, he was stunned. This is. Fang Yuxi introduced him excitedly, Du Heng, do you still remember? These are Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo, whom we met at Egger College before. Du Heng nodded repeatedly, remember, of course I remember. Ye Qingfeng and Yezhiruo are outstanding talents who are unforgettable. How could he forget them? But when he looked again, he saw two men and a woman with extraordinary temperament following behind them, and finally two middle-aged men wearing neat black clothes. This scene is somewhat eye-catching even in the city, let alone in this backward mountain village. Du Heng was shocked. This. Fang Yuxi explained to him in time, the people behind are their family members, and they are here to see Panur. Du Heng didn't have time to say hello, but his expression changed when he heard the second half of the sentence. Looking for Panur. The Ye family didn't talk at first, so Fang Yuxi didn't interrupt Du Heng's communication. However, hearing Du Heng's tone, Ye Wei couldn't help it. Do you know Panur too? Can you take us there quickly? Please. She couldn't wait to find her daughter, but she couldn't care less about her image, temperament, and identity. Du Heng nodded and turned back the way he came. That's the one in front. You can now see where the house is located, but it will take at least 2 or 3 minutes to walk up there. On the way, Du Heng asked a question that Fang Yuxi was also confused about, well, why are you looking for Panur? Panur is. Ye Wei seemed to be in a hurry to tell everyone that Panur was her daughter Nuan. Fortunately, Yezikin was always there to remind her and keep her calm. But when he arrived outside the house, he found that the door was closed. Du Heng and Fang Yuxi called several times, but no one at home agreed. How could there be no one? Ye Wei was very anxious. Du Heng said, maybe he went to dig sweet potatoes in the fields. What? Digging sweet potatoes in such a cold world? A group of people in the Ye family were shocked when they heard this. But Du Heng and the others thought this was a very natural thing. Yezhiruo was very angry after hearing this, damn it, we clearly promised that we would treat Panur well, but we let her go out to work in such a cold weather. Then do you know where they are? Please take me there. Du Heng sighed, there's nothing we can do. It's very cold here in winter, and many vegetables are frozen to death. Only sweet potatoes are better buried in the soil. Those who have not lived in rural areas cannot understand that kind of hardship. Yezikin, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. Where are they? Take us there. Having been in the company for a long time, I have a commanding tone when speaking to outsiders. However, the driver he brought could be regarded as an assistant, and he cleverly gave Fang Yuxi and Du Heng hard work pay. Du Heng and Fang Yuxi's eyes widened when they saw them handing out 100 yuan bills. If you find Panur, the money will be yours. Du Heng and Fang Yuxi were itchy, but they were not greedy for money. No, 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 I know roughly where they are, I'll take you there now. Du Heng was a neighbor of the Li family and accurately found the Li family's land. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1448. Chapter 1448, Nuan Nuan is bullied again. There were indeed several figures on the land. The closer you get, the clearer you can see it, and the Ye family's hearts are also tightening. Hurry up, why are you pretending to be so slow? You haven't had enough to eat, haven't you? Father Li and Mother Li dug out the sweet potatoes with after hoe, and threw the excavated sweet potatoes aside. Li Painter roughly wiped off the soil on the excavated sweet potatoes, and then put them into the basket. Father Li did the hard work with a hoe, but Li Painter had to pick and wipe it all the time. This was not an easy task. Her hands have suffered from frostbite every year, and there are scars on many places on the back of her hands. Now that they are exposed while working, some places are scratched and bleeding. However, these small wounds are just trivial matters to her, and no one cares about them at all. After leaving the Ye family and returning here, the Li family's parents didn't deliberately ask her to do anything in the first few days. She really thought their parents' attitudes towards her had changed. In order to win the favor of her parents, she even took the initiative to do some housework such as sweeping the floor and cooking, and would wash clothes even if she had frostbite on her hands. What I didn't expect was that the good days would not last long. Within half a month, her parents' attitude towards her completely changed back to what it was before, but now it was better in front of outsiders. She really doesn't know when this life will end. She was a little hungry and her mouth was a little dry. Reaching out to pick up the kettle only to find that it was empty. Li Painter stopped what she was doing and said, "Mom, there is no water here. I want to go back and get some water first. This place is not far from their home. Anyone standing on the edge of the field can directly see their house. It won't take long to go back." But Mother Li turned around and looked at the sweet potatoes and baskets that had been dug out and were still lying on the ground. She said, "If you want to go back now, just carry this half-filled basket back." "But I can't carry it." Li Panner saw the half-carried basket of sweet potatoes and felt embarrassed because it was very heavy for her. "Don't bother with me, others carry a full basket on their backs. If you are asked to carry half a basket, just drag it." "But wasn't it always?" "Don't talk nonsense to me. I didn't let you carry it before because you were young. Now you are not young anymore. It's time to learn." Li Painter bit her lip in grievance and tried to carry it on her back. Li's mother helped her and let Li Painter stand up on her back. But as soon as Mrs. Li let go, Director Li, who suddenly became heavier behind her, pressed down, causing her to almost fall backwards. Mother Li sneered, "I think you don't have the princess's life but you still have the princess's disease. After going to the city for a few days, you really think you are a rich lady." Li Painter gritted her teeth and stepped forward. The heavy burden behind her was so painful for her. Step after step, finally, when the steps are weak, I will kneel down. Nuan Nuan. When a group of people from the Ye family arrived and saw Li Painter walking hard. The moment she was about to fall, Ye Weiwei subconsciously stretched out her hand forward and called out her name. In an instant, Yezikin's figure flashed in front of his eyes, and he grabbed the backpack behind Li Pan'er just in time when she was about to fall. This all happened so suddenly that others didn't even react. The only person who saw Yezikin standing next to Li Pan'er that night was helping her steady. She breathed a big sigh of relief and ran forward quickly. Before Li Pan'er could react, Yezikin had already taken off her backpack. When Yayoi arrived, he knelt down on one knee and hugged the person into his arms. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lou Kixie. Chapter 1449. Chapter 1449. She was almost out of breath. At the only moment when Ye stretched out his hand to hug Li Pan'er, the windbreaker he was wearing spread out in an arc in the field, as if Li Pan'er's small body was hidden in it, which made people feel more at ease. The moment he hugged the child, Ye Weiwei's tears could no longer stop flowing from the corners of his eyes, but a smile appeared on his face. She hugged the child tightly and whispered in her ear, "Nuan Nuan, Mommy finally found you." The sound of a sentence fell, as if the dust had settled. Li Pan'er was confused by Ye Weiwei's actions. She struggled in Ye Weiwei's arms, "And you, please let me go first." "No, Mommy found you with great difficulty. Mommy will never let you disappear from my eyes again. Nuan Nuan, don't leave Mommy again in the future." Ye Wei still held the child tightly, for fear that he would lose the child if he let go. But Li Pan'er already felt a little uncomfortable. Yezikin noticed that Li Pan'er's breathing was getting heavier and stopped Ye Wei's behavior in time. "Yi, let go, she is almost out of breath." Hearing the words that might hurt the child, Yi quickly let go of the child. Li Pan'er was freed. Ye Qingfeng, Yezhiruo and others have already surrounded them. Du Heng and Fang Yuxi were both shocked. How did these two people do it? What devilish speed! In the blink of an eye, we were 10 meters away from them. Ye Weiwei could no longer care about other people. At this moment, all he could think about was Li Pan'er. She reached out to take Li Pan'er's hand, but Li Pan'er immediately avoided it. Ye Weiwei showed a look of disappointment in his eyes. Li Pan'er quickly raised her hands and explained to her, "And my hands are very dirty now." Those small hands were originally supposed to be slender, but in winter they had become red and swollen due to frostbite, and were stained with a lot of soil from doing farm work. Ye Weiwei shook her head and held her hands without mind at all. "It's okay, it will never happen again. Mommy promises that I will never let you suffer at all in the future." "Mommy," Li Pan'er read this title and had no idea what it meant. At this time, Mother Li had already chased after her. Mother Li originally wanted to see if Li Pan'er had carried the sweet potatoes back, but she didn't want to go around to the edge of the field and find such a large group of people. When she got closer and took a closer look, she saw that they were still rich people in the city. Mother Li wiped her hands on her clothes twice, and her expression immediately changed, as if she was a different person. She walked over with a smile on her face and greeted the Ye family warmly, as if she had met some old acquaintances. "Hey! Isn't this MRS yet? Are you out as a family?" Yezikin frowned, his expression was very subtle, maybe he could not help but kick Mother Li away in the next second. Mother Li had not seen Yezikin when she was in the city before, but now that she saw the tall, handsome and impressive man standing next to Ye Wei, she thought to herself that she had indeed met a rich family. At first glance, it looks like he is rich and wealthy. Thinking of this, Mother Li's expression became very ugly. "This is Mr. Ye, you guys. Enough." Mother Li wanted to say something else, but Ye Weiwei interrupted her directly. One of her hands was still holding Li Pan'er, and she stepped forward to stand in front of Li Pan'er and face Li Pan'er face to face. "Not only did you not listen to what I said before, but you only made it worse." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1450. Chapter 1450 I am your mother. Not only did you not listen to what I said before, but you only made it worse. Mrs. Yeah, there is a misunderstanding about this matter. I can explain it to you. I don't need any explanation, because from now on, Panner is no longer the daughter of your Lee family. Mrs. Yeah, what do you mean by this? Why do I sound confused? It doesn't matter whether you really don't understand or you pretend not to understand, I can tell you clearly that she is not Lee Painter, she is the daughter of my Ye family Mo Xiong Nguyen. The two different names, Lee Painter and Mo Xiong Nguyen, mean that this child will have a completely different life in the past and in the future. Ye Wei didn't want to see Mother Lee's ugly face anymore. Although Yezikin didn't speak much, he carefully observed everyone's movements and expressions. The only thing Ye said to Lee's mother was that she was angry and wanted to vent her anger on Lee Panner's behalf, but the child still couldn't fully accept and make sense of this fact. Yezikin and Ye only communicated in a tacit understanding, leave it to me to deal with it, and you take Nuan back. Having said this, Yezikin cast his eyes on Lee Painter and reminded him, she is very cold now. When Ye Yuyi heard this, all his thoughts turned to the child. When she was about to take off her cloak and give it to Lee Painter, Ye Qingfeng had already handed over her cloak, use mine. Ye Wei glanced at him and took the cloak. There is no need for you and me to compete with each other, because their family has already formed a tacit understanding. The loose cloak enveloped Lee Painter's body, completely covering her small body under the cloak. Lee Painter let her do all this, and she seemed to be immersed in her own world now. Nuan, mommy will take you home. The moment Ye Wei held her hand and shook her away, Lee Painter slowly said, I'm not Nuan. Her identity is already very clear in Austria. She has seen and heard the name Mo Xiong Nguyen before. The person represented by that name is the daughter of the Ye family, the little princess they hold in their hearts. But she is not. So she didn't leave. Ye has already determined that she is Mo Xiong Nguyen. Ye Wei's eagerness to see the second female lead was a bit beyond normal. Ye Qingfeng whispered a few words quietly in Yezhiruo's ear. Yezhiruo nodded while listening and walked to the two of them, with a relaxed tone to resolve the subtle atmosphere between the two. Mommy, Panner doesn't know anything, you will scare her. One sentence can make Ye Yuyi restrain his attitude. Yezhiruo asked Lee Panner again, Panner, do you believe your sister? Lee Panner nodded without hesitation, I believe it. Yezhiruo held her other hand and coaxed her with a smile, go back with your sister. Let's talk about anything slowly. Of course, the so-called going home does not mean directly bringing Lee Painter back to City S. Ye Wei didn't want to go to Lee's house, so Du Hong enthusiastically invited them to his home. Ye Wei's whole heart is focused on Lee Painter now. It is unimaginable that a person who is so alert in dealing with people and things is now so nervous that he can't speak when facing a child. Nuan, I don't know what to say to you, but. Yes, only stuttering was because she was nervous. The cool breeze at night supports my forehead. If he hadn't known that his mother was always special about Mo Xiong Nguyen, he would have rushed over. End of this chapter.